I think that's excellent, and thank you for your patience. I didn't realize we were going to have some final action and a little bit of debate on the floor, so thanks for waiting.
Oh, you're welcome. We thought you were starting on Senate time, so no, thank you.
Well, do you want me to go ahead and pass the list out? Okay. Those to the members there. All right, I'm passing out, or staff's passing out right now, a white sheet that is both front and back. The front details the bills that are actually in conference or are pending motions to concur and non-concur. The back list, and then for every provision that is in one of those bills, it reflects also the other chamber's chamber position on the comparable item. The back sheet of that two-page document lists every conferenceable provision that is not listed above. And so if a bill is listed in the kind of other chambers position section on the first page, it does not appear on the second page, but every conferenceable provision is listed somewhere on this sheet. It's just a question of whether it's the first page or the second page, but nothing should be listed multiple times. And while several people in our office have taken a look at this, and I think both chairs have seen this, if anybody does notice anything amiss on this, by all means let me know and we'll get it updated for future meetings. But I'll start to talk through the white sheet on the front page. On the front page is the bills in conference or pending motions to concur. The first bill I have listed there is Senate Bill 8. I have listed the House version as that is the most recent version of the bill. It includes personal property filing changes, several of those that were the original contents of the bill. It also includes the withholding penalties reductions that were previously in House Bill 2411. With regards to the Senate position on that bill, the personal property filing changes are identical with the exception of a clarification as to the effective date that is present in the House bill. And with regard to the withholding penalties, the Senate had no position on that legislation. That was introduced as a House bill and was never passed over to the Senate. The next bill listed is House substitute, or actually I'll pause there for questions on Senate Bill 8 if there are any. But okay. The next bill listed is House substitute for Senate Bill 169. The House substitute contains essentially 7 provisions. I'll go through those one by one and compare the Senate provision as we go. The House had a single bracket individual income tax plan at 5.25%. The Senate in the original Senate Bill 169 had a single bracket individual income tax plan at 4.75%. The untaxed taxable income provisions amounts were different for those two bills accordingly. The House had privilege tax rate reductions effective in tax year 2024. The Senate in Senate Bill 300 included a privilege tax rate reductions. By tax year 24, they got to the same point. The Senate did have kind of half of the amount of reduction in tax year 23 in Senate Bill 300. The bill includes an acceleration of the apex corporate rate tax reductions and then the corresponding repeal of the apex rate trigger itself, or expert sunset of the apex rate trigger. The Senate had no position on that item. The House bill includes a provision that smooths the so-called Social Security tax cliff from $75,000 of income to $100,000 income. The Senate position, which is from Senate Bill 33, is to exempt Social Security benefits from income tax. The House has a provision that provides for a $500 increase to the single standard deduction amount beginning in tax year 2023, and then provides for indexing for all standard deduction amounts beginning in tax year 24. The Senate, in Senate Bill 33, had a position providing for indexing of all amounts to begin in 2023. The House has a provision setting the state food sales tax rate to food and food ingredients sales tax rate to 0% effective July 1 of 2023 and accelerating the food sales tax credit repeal by 2 years. The comparable position for the Senate is from Senate Bill 248, which provides for a sales tax exemption for food and food ingredients effective January 1 of 2024. The House has a provision that increases the residential property exemption from the statewide school finance levy to $80,000, and the Senate does not have a comparable position. Are there any questions on 169?
Mr. Penner,
Yes.
we had a floor amendment in the House that had to do with changing the date on the 529 count.
That is correct, and I did not get that added. The House also had a floor amendment that changed. I think I started putting this together maybe before that happened and did not get this updated. The House had a provision that changed the permissible date for 529 contributions to be counted in tax years, essentially for contributions made between January 1st and the filing deadline. The contributor would have the option to elect whether they apply to the previous tax year or the current tax year. It would be specified within the provision that no contribution could be counted in both tax years. It's somewhat comparable to the way certain retirement account contributions work at the federal level, but this would be specific to state level contributions for purposes of our subtraction modification associated with 529 accounts. The Senate had no position on that provision, and I apologize for not including that, and I will get that added to an updated version of this the next time we convene.
That's all right. I forgot it this morning when we were looking at this too, so.
Any other questions on 169? Okay. The next bill that I have listed is House Bill 2002. Since the Senate version of this is the most recent one, the Senate is listed on the left side on this one, and the House is listed on the right side. The Senate included a one-year extension of the revenue neutral rate printing and postage costs reimbursement. The comparable House position, which was from the same bill, extended that reimbursement indefinitely. The Senate version included changes to specify the revenue neutral rate hearing notice take on a specific form and also changed the information provided for in that notice. The House had no position on that provision. The Senate extended by 2 years the amount of prior year information included on the annual appraisal notification sent out to include the current and now 3 preceding years. The House version of that, which was in House Bill 2201, added 4 years, such that it would be the current and 4% and toward 5 total years. The Senate would be 3 total years. The Senate provided for certain appraisal appeals under a specific appraisal appeal procedure to be conducted by certified residential real appraisers. Current law limits that specific appeal procedure to only certified general real property appraisals. And this would expand it to residential real property appraisals only for appeals of residential property. The Senate and the House had no position on that item. The Senate included a provision that would repeal the prohibition for taxpayers to appeal their property taxes via the payment under protest procedure in the event that they have already appealed their property valuation via an equalization appeal. Current law, taxpayers must pick one or the other, and this would allow them to pursue both potential appeal pathways. The House had no position on that item. The Senate had a provision that would codify agricultural land adverse influence provisions that are currently provided for in administrative guidance by the Property Valuation Division, and this would provide for those provisions to be inserted into state statute. The House had no position on that item, and I believe that is everything in 2002. Are there questions on any of those provisions? Okay, in that case, I'll go ahead and flip over to the back page, the second page, and this is a list of conferenceable provisions that are not listed above. I want to reemphasize on this that if a provision is listed on the first page as kind of the other chamber's position, it's not duplicated on this page. And so Senate Bill 33, this is not the full contents of 33, but it's the contents of 33 that are not listed on the first page, just to where every kind of piece is out on the table, so to speak. So Senate Bill 33, in addition to those provisions listed on the first page, provides for an income tax exemption for retirement plan income. It provides for certain changes related to the homestead refund program. It provides for a subtraction modification related to net operating losses, specifically related to some carry back, carry forward provisions related to 2020 federal legislation. It provides for subtraction modifications related to certain federal employment tax credit disallowance provisions at 25% of the amount. Are there any questions on the 33 provisions listed here?
Yeah, we've got a question, Representative Sawyer.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I have questions about the homestead refund program changes. I wasn't aware they made any, I wasn't aware those were in there, so I'm curious of what those are.
I'm gonna pull, you feel free to.
We made it in two different bills, so the provisions that are in Senate Bill 30, the original bill would, currently, you can only subtract 50% of your Social Security. This would allow you to subtract 100% of your Social Security. The Senate also increased the home value to 595,000. It's a big number in our area. That was the only two items that were changed, and a multiplier on the increase of the valuation of the home each year. Now, there was another change in Senate Bill 40 to increase the income household to 75,000, including the other changes that I just told you.
Thank you, appreciate that.
All right, any other questions on 33? Okay. Senate Bill 40 is the same net operating loss carry back, carry forward changes, and the same homestead refund provisions with the exception of the additional change to the income threshold level. Senate Bill 53 provides for a sales tax price exclusion for manufacturers' coupons. Substitute for Senate Bill 55 provides for a clarification for a property tax exemption for Strother Field Airport. Senate Bill 90, I guess I should be pausing for each of these if there are questions on them. I'll give a very brief pause and just interject if there are. Senate Bill 96 provides for pregnancy centers and residential maternity centers contribution tax credit. Senate Bill 127 provides for additional local sales tax authority for Dickinson County, I believe for emergency communications or public safety communications, capital expenditures. Senate Bill 147 makes changes to the adoption tax credit. Senate Bill 248, in addition to those provisions related to food sales tax listed on the first page, also includes a sales tax exemption provision specifically related to the state schools for the deaf and blind, and specific to construction of residential facilities at those schools. Senate Bill 252 contains property and sales tax exemptions for businesses related to government competition with those businesses. And that is all of the otherwise conferenceable Senate provisions. If there, I'll pause more expressly here for questions. But.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Penner. I just had a few questions I thought of after we'd already did your pause. Back on Senate Bill 53, I know we've had that before, and I just wanted to clarify for everyone, that is now part of Streamline, so adopting that would not put us out of compliance. Is that correct?
That is correct. The Streamline Agreement had an amendment adopted in December, and this bill is now, after several years of being out of compliance with Streamline, that bill is now compliant with Streamline.
It's my understanding we had a senator that was very well involved in that, so I thank you for that. And then on the Senate Bill 147, is that refundable as it currently is, or is that non-refundable as it passed the Senate?
As the statute you mean as that bill provides?
Is the bill?
The bill, one of the changes made in that bill is that it does make that tax credit refundable.
It is refundable. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on Senate bills? Okay, moving down to the House bills. House Bill 2026 provides for the Department of Revenue to make the filings for certain lien releases, as opposed to current law where the taxpayer is required to file those lien releases. House Bill 2036 provides for property tax exemptions for certain retired and disabled military veterans.
So would you go over the requirements for that? Is that all veterans that would qualify?
It provides for a kind of a graduated exemption. Veterans have to have, in order to be eligible in the outset, veterans are required to have a service-connected disability rating of at least 30%. For those with disability ratings from 30 to 40%, it is a 60% exemption. For 40 to 50%, it is a 70% exemption. For 50 to 60%, it is an 80% exemption. For 60 to 70%, it is a 90% exemption. And for veterans with a service-connected disability rating in excess of 70%, those who are permanently confined to a wheelchair and those who are at least 65 years old, they would receive a full exemption. Any individuals receiving an exemption under this bill would be ineligible for refunds under the homestead program. Surviving spouses would continue to be eligible unless they remarry. And it does include a severability clause in the event that any provision is determined to be invalid. House Bill 2106 provides for a sales tax exemption for telecommunications, infrastructure, and machinery and equipment purchases. House Bill 2176 creates two separate public library district acts, one related to Arkansas City and one related to Udall. House Bill 2229 provides for a deduction from the sales tax amount for certain motor vehicle transactions. House Bill, I'm going relatively quickly here, so feel free to drag me back if I go too fast. House Bill 2232 provides for the Property Valuation Division to develop certain continuing education courses for certain courses for appraisals, appraisers in Kansas, county appraisers. House Bill 2254 specifies that land devoted to agritourism shall be classified as land devoted to agriculture for purposes of property taxes. House Bill 2317 permits, with the consent of both the county and taxpayer, the electronic delivery of both appraisal notices and tax statements. House Bill 2416 includes sales tax exemptions, one related to area agencies on aging and one related to Kansas Suicide Prevention Headquarters. House Bill 2421 provides for additional local sales tax authority for Grant County, I believe for the purpose of financing the construction of a jail or law enforcement center. And House Bill 2465 makes changes to the SALT Parity Act to, as it relates to both apportionment of income and the passing through of tax credits as it relates to that program. And I believe that is the full list of House bills that are not otherwise listed on the first page.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess we'll start out in a big way. The Senate would like to make an offer, and we would like to remove the contents of 2002, put those in another bill for later. We don't want to lose them by any means. And we would like to offer the Senate position on food sales tax, taking it to 0 in 2024, local and state.
I may have my numbers wrong here. Is that the original contents of Senate Bill 248? Is that, okay,
Four.
okay. We'll take that under consideration. I'm not sure if we're ready to give an answer right now, but is that only just the food sales tax piece? is the
Well,
offer?
actually, we'd like to put in another tax bill, we'd like you to consider the flat rate. I know if we start out with a Senate bill, the flat rate, I know we're at 475. I was wondering what you guys would consider. We would hope you would accept 475. And then also, we would like to look at a buy down on Social Security instead of just the cliff, what you guys are taking care of, but a compromise between the Senate position of all of it. We would love to have all of it, if you guys would accept that. But realistically, would you take a look at that
Certainly.
also? And then,
Did you have a phase out, 5-year, 3-year? Did you have anything in mind, or just a phase out of some point?
some type of phase out.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Yeah, we came up with some really good solutions last year. I'm hoping we consider those conversations and something comparable, maybe a little bit more aggressive, but
Okay.
thank you. Then we would like to look at the corporate and the privilege tax also,
Okay.
if you would consider those. That'd be great.
Yeah, we will certainly consider those. I know that we've got I think we've got a lot of good tax policy in front of us right here. As we dealt with in the House Tax Committee, it's ultimately probably going to boil down to what the overall fiscal impact of the aggregate tax cuts are, and we'll see where we go from there. But in my mind, nothing's off the table right now. We'll take a look at these and see where we end up.
Well, thank you very much. We'll look forward to meeting with you again. Do you want to try and get back this evening, or do you guys want to, what works best for you?
I think probably tomorrow morning would probably work better. We'll take a look at this, maybe come back with some counter offers. We'll talk about this. Are you guys in at 10 o'clock, I'm assuming?
I think we are. Yeah, if we could meet before that, or, yeah, we're just afraid we're going to run out of time. 3 days, quick turnaround with negotiations. I hope you guys will consider the food. We're trying to keep it alone. And we would love to see that ran right away, because that kind of takes the temperature, tells us where we're at.
Okay.
So,
Would 9 o'clock be acceptable?
yes, 9 will work.
All right.
My vice chair says 7 a.m. is better, but,
I would agree. I'll take 7.
I know, and you'll be here too.
Okay, so we'll plan on 9 o'clock. I would assume, I know your committee assistant set this room up.
Yes,
I'll let you
we'll go ahead and do that.
assume that it's the same room.
Okay,
but,
we'll try for it. If
okay.
not, we'll announce, and he'll send an email.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. I think,
Oh,
his question.
Yes, I'm getting the House, we have our big picture out on the steps for all the new House members at 9 o'clock, I've been told, so, yeah, and that never goes really quick.
Would it be okay if we tried for 5 this evening? Would that, or 5:30? I just got told, I got vetoed on 5:30, so it's either 5 or tomorrow morning.
Are you guys back on the floor, or are you done?
We're at the sound of the gavel.
Okay. I was gonna say, we could come back even at 4:30 or so.
Actually, 4:30 would be great.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's plan on that then at 4:30, and we'll consider these offers and maybe have a few to put back towards you. Okay.
Sounds wonderful.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.